What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and yeah, let's put together a couple of factors. It's the day before Elimination Chamber, and I've got a day off, so obviously I'm going to give you guys an extra pod, because, you know, one more opportunity to come up here and talk nonsense. Now, it's not anything new, and it's not reinventing the wheel to come up here, do a podcast like everybody else does. Let's fantasy book Wrestlemania. Now, I've run out of time. Like, the countdown clock has come down to 0 as far as fantasy booking, because half of WrestleMania is basically told to you by the Royal Rumble. The other half of WrestleMania is kind of told to you by the Elimination Chamber. So after this Saturday, more will be in place. Everything will be kind of locked down. And everything else after that as far as fantasy booking is just kind of like, we threw something out there, we threw something up there. You know, very cut and paste. Oh, I had to say something, so I said this. So, right down to the wire, in the 11th hour, as the expression goes, I'm going to give you my Fantasy WrestleMania card. Now, this is a combination. It's not going in one particular direction. It's a combination of stuff we definitely know is happening, stuff that could feasibly happen with long-term stories that are currently going on in the company, and a couple things that I just threw in there because I thought they'd be really cool, not going to lie. So, not going to do kickoffs. I'm not going to do any NXT stuff other than the women's tag, because the women's tag title covers all 3 shows. Also, with the recent news that Stand and Deliver Oi 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 is on a completely different weekend, has kind of divorced itself from the WrestleMania weekend festivities, and I don't have any, well, I kind of do, but I don't really have any integration with AAA either, but congratulations to them on the recent news that they are now going to be touring the States. I think they said around WrestleMania time they're going to be doing some weekly show tapings in the Texas area. You know, happy for Texas and all that, but you know, Toronto also starts with T. Is that anything? Is that anything? Now, I said it already, I'm going to start with this. It's the only match that I have on here that's going to include NXT talent, because it is the title that goes across all 3 brands. It is the Women's Tag Team Division. Now, a lot of people would say, and you'd be right, the Women's Tag Team Division coming out of 2025 going into 2026 has been more and better tended than the men's. Now, that leads itself to, on one side, a story that everybody but me is sick of, and on the other side of the coin, people irrationally hating the Usos. But the women, on the other side of the coin, this is one of those, this is my only big pile of people match as well. There's a lot of talented women that I haven't factored into my title pictures, or my singles title pictures, I should say. This is a big pile of people match. It's an excuse to get a lot of these amazing women on the card, and maybe some of them from the middle of the card that wouldn't necessarily have a place at WrestleMania, but I'd like to put them on because I enjoy them. It is going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. An 8-team ladder match for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. And I will say as well, for reasons that will become obvious, Rio is not in this match, because by the time we get to WrestleMania, in my booking, and possibly at the end of this weekend, they will not be the Tag Team Champions anymore. So I've got Nia Jax and Lash Legend taking on Fatal Influence, represented by not JC Jane, but by Fallon Henley and Lainey Reed. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, the Kabuki Warriors, B-Fab and Michin, Lyra and Bayley, the Ren QCC, and Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez, representing the Judgment Day. It'll be a lot of fun. Jax and Lash will go out there and truck everybody. Fatal Influence and the Ren QCC getting the biggest stage possible. Exposure would be great. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss continues to be one of the success stories of WWE. Lyra and Bayley is, what are we doing with those type of characters? B-Fab and Michin, I think a lot of people see as sort of being on the bottom of the totem pole, but I do think that leads to them being underrated slightly and a little bit unfairly. And Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez, who knows what the Judgment Day dynamic is going to be by then. Their 3rd female member is going for a major title in the same weekend. You could at least tell the story that on the ladies' side of the Judgment Day, we want to come away with all the gold. I don't know who I want to win this, honestly. I think it would be really cool if you want to give NXT a shot in the arm, throw the belts on a team like Fatal Influence. But on the other side of the coin, I don't know if Fatal Influence is going to be a thing much past WrestleMania, because I think JC Jane is going to be dropping that singles title to, what's her name? Kendall Gray, and I think she's bound for the main roster anyway. So maybe they win the tag titles and just continue to hold them on the main roster, seeing as their crossover titles. I think all the other like big star groups, like the Kabuki Warriors, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss, kind of cancel each other out. BFAB, Michin, Lyra, Bayley, Renq CC can all kind of like, they'll be in that part of the match where the camera's not necessarily always on them, which is what happens in a big pile of people match. I've got 8 teams here, which means I've got 16 people to keep track of fighting over 2 belts. Now, if Rio, or like Rhea and Io, I don't get how that actually became a thing, were in the match, it would be Rhea Ripley trucking everybody, because the gulf in Acclaim is what it is. But I think this would be a lot of fun. I think, depending on how, I don't want to say tired, but depending on how fatigued people are coming out of night 1, I think this would be your perfect night 2 opener. Now, I don't have placements for all these matches, obviously, but I think night 2 opener would be a hell of a thing. Now, tag team exhibition. And this, like I say, it leans on AAA, but it's not a AAA match. Back when we were building up to the Guerra de Titan pay-per-view, one of the things that match was being sold on was the reunion of the Lucha Brothers. That did not happen at Guerra de Titan because Penta got injured on Raw. I don't remember who it was against. I think it might have been the Judgment Day, whatever. But I do think it would be kind of cool to have this is one of those ones where it doesn't need a story, and I know that sounds like a cop-out, but sometimes an exhibition match, just for the sake of a fun exhibition match, is the thing. Sell this match on, this is the debut of the Lucha Brothers, not, oh my god, this is the Lucha Brothers and they've got a burgeoning feud with so-and-so. If the Lucha Brothers came out and talked about, cut a very honest promo. I know they're on the opposite brands and people will pretend to care about that. It's fine, don't worry about it. But if they come out and cut a heartfelt promo about, like, we were supposed to reunite at Guerra de Titan, it didn't work, the odds were not in our favor, now we're heading into WrestleMania, we don't have anything to do, we still want to get back together, that's still an important thing for us. Yes, Penta has the other group with Dragon Lee and Rey Mysterio. Put that to the side for a second. And they just say, hey, we don't want to be, we're not looking to be the main event. We're not looking to steal anybody else's thunder. We just want a place on the card. We just want a match. I think this is how you got to Benoit Angle at WrestleMania ages ago. Now, people are going to hate that I've made a Chris Benoit reference, but it's the one I'm going for. If they throw out a random the Lucha Brother Reunion WrestleMania Open Challenge, answered by Fraxium, do the, what does Simon Miller say, the flippy-dippy-doo-dah match. Fraxium will get the rub because people love the Lucha Brothers. People will be happy that the Lucha Brothers are together. I don't think anybody would be expecting Fraxium to win, but they can go out there and show what they can do. You can do face versus face, even if you want to turn this into a post-WrestleMania, like, best of 3, best of 5 series, whatever. It'll be light. It'll be an exhibition in the purest sense, and people can just have at it. Lucha Brothers can have their moment. Rey Fenix did not quite make it into the Rey de Reyes tournament, but Penta is going to be at Rey de Reyes to present a sword because AAA is doing cool sword stuff. If he goes heel and decides to keep the sword for himself and carries the sword into WrestleMania, I mean, we can hit somebody with a sword. He can have a sword fight with Drew McIntyre, but that sounds incredibly suggestive, and that was not the point of my comment. Lucha Brothers versus Fraxium, along the same lines as the ladies tag pile of people match. More for the fun than for the story, but I think it definitely, the reunion of the Lucha Brothers needs to happen. Fraxium, I think, would just be a fun set of opponents for them. Or, bring up Vanity Project for a night, for a squash, and it'll be fun. You can do it in 2 minutes. Speaking of fun, and again, AAA adjacent, but not really, because both these characters are from the main roster, we need to have El Grande Americano versus El Grande Americano. Let's put all the pretense aside for a second. Chad Gable being back, looking jacked and stacked, getting this character over before Ludwig Kaiser came in and took over and got the character even more over. The fact that Chad Gable's Americano on Monday Night Raw is sort of the babyface, sort of teaming with Javon Evans while the Americanos get booed, and then watching AAA and seeing it be the exact opposite, where the Ludwig Kaiser Americano is absolutely adored and the Gable Americano is seen as sort of like this interloper, the pretender, even though he did it first. take out the story, take out the whole like Spider-Man meme of Americano versus Americano. Ludwig Kaiser and Chad Gable would just be a fun match, but the amount of overacting and the amount of like cartoony, campy storytelling that both of them have dedicated themselves to in this match would be a lot of fun. And is it super serious? No. Is it silly? Yes. But they've been dedicated with this silly story. So even though it's silly, and even though, you know, your mileage may vary on the double, triple, quadruple Americanos, do you take the other two, Rayo and Bravo, and one sides with one and one sides with the other, and it becomes like the fatal four-way of the Americanos? You know, one step away from Lord of the Rings, the Battle of the Five Kingdoms. Like, one step away, and then you just get one extra person, and we never find out who it is, and they've got a mask, and they're the fifth person, or they're the referee, or something like that. I think the way that Ludwig Kaiser, Chad Gable, and even Pete Dunne and Tyler Bate in these Americano characters have allowed themselves to be characters that at any time, at any given place, can fall on their face and have no problem with that. That stuff like that is stuff that I typically attribute to The Miz. But the ability of somebody to go out there, be the person that's supposed to fall on your face, be comedic, be the story, be the situation that is intentionally ludicrous, and go with it and run with it. It's comedy wrestling, but it's comedy wrestling that has been dedicated enough to pay off on the big stage. There's the counter argument that maybe because it's more over in AAA, you do the payoff in AAA, but at the end of the day, they're not on the AAA brand. This whole thing started on the main roster of WWE. It started on Raw. It started with Chad Gable hating luchadors and going down to Mexico and getting himself a mask and all that fun stuff. It needs to pay off, and like I say, people will always shrug it off as, oh, it's just comedy wrestling. Comedy wrestling has a place. Wrestlemania had the gimmick battle royal that was won by the Iron Sheik, and it was won by the Iron Sheik because his doctors told him he couldn't take a bump over the top rope. Like, what are we doing? Like, it's not WrestleMania, but the gobbledygooker is a thing. We've got a box at the Elimination Chamber, and it's going to have Danhausen in it. Danhausen getting in the middle of all the Americanos would be a lot of fun. All the Americanos. You're the Americano. No, you're the original Americano. No, you're the Americano Grande Extravente. All of a sudden interrupted by, I think I just booked Danhausen into the Americanos story by accident. Anyways, it'll be a lot of fun. Moving swiftly on, you've got the Women's Intercontinental Championship picture, which most directly ties into this weekend, and we're getting AJ versus Becky in Chicago, in AJ Lee's, quote-unquote hometown, because they've got the duality here of, like, AJ and Punk in their hometown of Chicago are both taking on very famous people from Ireland, which I think is a neat little thing that they've stumbled into, because Becky and Finn don't have much to do with each other. I don't know what happens this Saturday, but it's going to be a schmoz. They're going to push this to WrestleMania. I think the only reason we got it early, and they kind of just threw it out there as, oh yeah, by the way, we're doing this, is because the Elimination Chamber is in Chicago. If the Elimination Chamber was not in Chicago, if it was like last year, where they put the chamber in the dome and I was there, it would be a different story. I think they would have saved this for WrestleMania, but I think they don't want to miss the opportunity to have AJ Lee have a comeback title match in her hometown. I think she's going to get screwed in her hometown, and that's going to build all the heat necessary. And I think they run it back with some kind of stipulation. One person I don't have on this card, and it doesn't make sense story wise, and it doesn't make sense because she's not on the same brand, and all those type of it doesn't make sense things. If you can, between Chamber and Mania, find a way to stick Tiffany Stratton in this match. I know it doesn't make sense. I'm ready for all of you in the comments, all of you listening on the live stream. If I get this up in time, you will have just watched this after SmackDown on Friday, the day before Elimination Chamber. I'm aware that it makes no sense. It's one of those, a lot of people are limited in their hopes for the match tomorrow night. I think those criticisms will multiply by the time we get to WrestleMania for the people that are pulling the Becky Hogan shit, and for the people that are like throwing more hate at AJ Lee than they've ever thrown at CM Punk, with literally no reason other than, like, how dare she come back in an era where the Bellas are here. I mean, we don't need to worry about that. Are you going to put the Bellas in your fantasy women's ladder match for the tag titles? No, I'm not. But yeah, Tiffany Stratton, who's hella over, who's just come back not that long ago from injury and whatnot, and is insanely over. I don't know how you make it work. I'll say that flat out. I'll throw my hands up in the air, even though you can't see them. If you somehow find a way to stick Tiffany Stratton into this AJ Becky situation and make it a triple threat match by Mania, give me that triple threat match. But if not, these two this weekend, these two again at WrestleMania, maybe stepped up, maybe they swap the title back and forth, and whatever the case may be. I don't mind seeing them tomorrow night, and I don't mind seeing them again at WrestleMania. I'm still in the stages of I'm happy to have AJ Lee back on my television screen. If it means she gets a WrestleMania match, cool. Her and Paige versus the Bellas at the time that it happened was one of the coolest things to happen to women's wrestling at the time. It was... obviously, it would be overshadowed by the first time that the women ever main evented and Becky became Becky Two Belts. And that was a cool thing at the time because we hated Charlotte and because we hated Ronda. Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano is coming up real soon. So get mad about that as well. But now, that same person, oh, she's push, she's Hogan, she's push, she's Hogan. Meanwhile, the way that she's taken on the Trump mannerisms, I'm the best. I'm not just saying it. Everybody's saying it. Bleacher Report is saying it. You know. Fightful, whatever, news, radio. I just totally lost my train of thought there. It's fine. Becky being female Irish Trump at this time, where we are right now, is incredible. It's awesome heel work. It's a lot of fun. AJ Lee, you might say she's just she's coasting off of the impact of her return, but her impact wouldn't be so impactful if she wasn't who she was. This is going to go to Mania, and people are going to cry about it. Now, another one where I've tried to sort of fit people in that I don't really think have anywhere else to be is Julia with her United States Championship. Now, if Chelsea Green wasn't injured, and I get it's a fantasy booking, in my fantasy booking, Chelsea Green doesn't have to be injured, but if you have some other stuff going on, Chelsea Green is injured. Chelsea Green, by the way, side note, if she's still injured by the time we get to Mania, Chelsea Green should host WrestleMania. She should host WrestleMania. She should take all the cool stuff that Britt Baker did in AEW when she was injured and she was just interrupting the show every week. She should take that to the next level and have like a golden wheelchair and be hosting WrestleMania from her wheelchair, because I think it would be fucking fantastic. WrestleMania needs Chelsea Green. Moving swiftly on, if she can't be in the match to try and get her title back, shout out to all the Patriots and all that sort of thing, which is lame, and it's intentionally lame. It's fine, don't worry about it. Julia will still be the champion. Immediately, I thought they need to give a push to Jordynne Grace, because they did stuff with Jordynne Grace, but they didn't do anything really worth sinking your teeth into with Jordynne Grace on NXT. The thing with Mariah May was kind of went flat really quickly. I'd love to see Jordynne Grace get in there and get herself into at least the mid-card title picture, because she kind of came in at the same time as the Julias and the Stephanie Vacuras and the Zarias, and was the only one to not pick up any gold in the process. So they can sort of lean on that a little bit. My entry into NXT was overshadowed by you and this person and that person, and now I'm coming to get mine. The other thing is, because Rio is no longer the tag team champions in this scenario, my scenario, and I'm pretty sure you can guess where Rhea Ripley is, like I say, in the last match, somehow get Tiffany Stratton over onto Raw into the IC picture. As a swap, if you want to do a draft between Raw and SmackDown, trade Tiffany Stratton for Io Sky, let her get in the mix, run a triple threat match, Jordynne Grace versus Julia versus Io Sky. Now, the other caveat to all this is right now Julia has a manager, has a mouthpiece, has a person that's trying to make her own way while being a sidekick in Kiana James. Kiana James has looked great on SmackDown. She was great in NXT as well. She had an incredible showing at the Saudi Royal Rumble. If by the time we get to Mania, she's sort of parted herself from Julia, I wouldn't mind this being a fatal four-way, I know a lot of people aren't going to be pulling on for Kiana James to win. Her gimmick doesn't need to change. It needs to dial down a little bit and let her in-ring work speak more, because when she's given a chance to show what she can do in the ring, she's fucking fantastic. But being like the bitchy businesswoman who's carrying around her satchel and she's got her glasses on and all that kind of thing, it's a little much, and I know that's coming from me who loves ridiculous stuff, but you can have it, but dial it back, let her show what she can do in the ring. You've got a personal story of, oh my god, my manager just abandoned me, and maybe you get Kiana James over as a babyface by proxy, but also you throw Io Sky into the mix because she, she'll have sympathy. She's over as hell. And if she's lost the tag team title, people will want her to pick up something else. Jordynne Grace is the powerhouse. Jordynne Grace, you want to think, would go into this match and squash all three of them. So there's all kinds of dynamics you can play with in this match. Julia defending in a fatal four-way against Jordynne Grace, Io Sky, and her former manager, Kiana James. Brock Lesnar, everybody's favorite star that they want to pretend isn't a star. Now, initially, first of all, let's dispel this. The people that are saying or pushing or thinking that it should be LA Knight, no. LA Knight, no. Not that I don't like LA Knight. This is not a dig on LA Knight whatsoever, but if the match at Mania is Brock Lesnar versus LA Knight's going to lose, and you're going to get more mad. Initially, the rumor was, before the NXT, this whole class of NXT people came up, the original rumor was that it was going to be Lesnar versus Gunther. Now, I don't mind that. I don't mind Lesnar versus Gunther as a match, but because they're now building SummerSlam around his retirement, because it's going to be his last match at SummerSlam, it's going to be in his hometown, apparently. I still haven't looked that up. I keep just mentioning it off the cuff. Save the Gunther match for his retirement match. It's going to fit in with the whole Gunther career killer thing. He's going to, at some point in the year, he's going to go from killing Rey Mysterio to killing Brock Lesnar. And that's a hell of an upgrade. That's a hell of a transition, an evolution, and it's not a mystery. So, putting Gunther to one side, the obvious next one is Obafemi. Now, problem is, people are going to make this about something that's not wrestling. The best thing you can, or the worst thing you can say about Brock Lesnar is he might have known something about what something else might have done, and if you're not going to get your panties in a twist about that, you're going to get them in a twist about put a picture of Brock Lesnar next to a picture of Obafemi. What's the next thing people are going to go for? Oh, yes, it's going to be like Worry's shades of Brock Lesnar, Kofi Kingston 2.0. I get it. Some people aren't over it. You need to get over it. It's called growing up. It's called acknowledgement. But I will say, in this case, Obafemi should destroy Brock Lesnar. Like, that's the thing. Brock Lesnar, the guy that was described very aptly by Pat McAfee on commentary as the alpha male of our species. The guy that was described by JBL as, if aliens landed on our planet and said, send out your best, it would be Brock Lesnar. Somebody said he was the perfect meld of... What did they say? They said he was a perfect meld of a Viking and peak steroid Scott Steiner. And there's a lot of chaos in that sentence, but it's true. All these things. It's very similar to when JBL said, when you look at Randy Orton, that's what happens when you build a wrestler from the ground up. The whole, and yes, toxic masculinity. I do not give a fuck. The Kit Wilson thing is awesome, by the way. But the whole, alpha male of our species is a thing. Brock Lesnar being on the Mount Rushmore of WWE when you go along it objectively is a thing. Giving somebody like Obafemi the scalp of Brock Lesnar is a thing. You go back to him beating the streak and Paul Heyman cutting those promos about who thinks they can be the one to defeat the one in 21-1. That is a thing. Now, caveat, if they're building to his retirement at SummerSlam, you want him to be as indestructible as possible for Gunther, so that when Gunther beats him, it's a big, huge, gigantic deal. Does that mean that he wins at WrestleMania? Yes. Is that the end of the... Maybe. I don't want to say yes, definitely, because Oba could definitely win this. People out there saying that if Brock Lesnar were to win this match, hypothetically, if this match happens, hypothetically, it'll be the end of Obafemi. You're fucking retarded. Like, it is what it is, and I don't want to use that word because of, you know, the people, especially this week out in the real world, that are being mistreated for such things. But, like, you've got to screw loose. There's something not functioning in your brain if you think that Brock Lesnar, who has literally beaten every hero there's been to beat, he's gone up against, you know, the Balors, the Bryans, obviously the Rey Mysterios, but like the John Cenas, the Triple H's. He took the Undertaker's streak. It's feasible to think in I have to say this. Not everybody watches. I love NXT. Not everybody watches NXT. It's feasible to believe that somebody who's been on the main roster of your company, whose story is only 3 or 4 months long, might lose to Brock Lesnar. Now, does that mean that I'm saying that I want Brock Lesnar to beat Obafemi? No, I would love for Obafemi to come up and have this huge moment. I'm just saying the win would be huge. The loss wouldn't be as huge as you think it is. And that's just me. That's just me putting it out there. Nobody's going to like it. It is what it is. Intercontinental Championship, because I think he's still going to have it at this point. Dominic Mysterio and Finn Balor. Finn Balor leaving the Judgment Day is going to be punctuated by something between him and Dom. Easiest thing's going to be, we talked about it in the Elimination Chamber preview, Finn Balor is going to lose against CM Punk, even though him winning would be fantastic. And he's either going to lose because the Judgment Day gets involved, or he's going to lose because the Judgment Day doesn't get involved. Either way, you can push something between him and Dom. I'd like JD to be involved as well, but I know that as a whole, the wrestling community isn't as involved or isn't as into JD McDonough as I am. So the thing is going to be Finn, who's finally getting his main event push, which is incredible. Dom, who's gotten over way more than anybody would have predicted in 2 countries simultaneously, carrying 2 belts simultaneously. This is low-key a huge match, and because a lot of people speculated that he would do it tomorrow night against CM Punk, you save the Demon for this match. This is the long-term storytelling. This is if they had done the bloodline properly, it would have been Jey Uso to take down Roman Reigns. How long has the Judgment Day been a thing? Ever since Rey Mysterio and Edge took on the Judgment Day and Dominic Mysterio booted Edge and his dad in the dick. Edge was still in the company, for one thing. But how long has Dominic been low-key the MVP of the Judgment Day, because Finn Balor had been pulled so far from the main event scene that he was one of the ancillary players in this great faction rather than out there doing Finn things for Finn. This match has... I'd have to go back and look through it some more. This match potentially has more history than any other match that I'm booking on this card. Do I think Finn wins? No. I think Finn goes in there, makes Dom look like $1 million and get himself back in the world title picture. Dominic Mysterio being able to say that he beat the Demon Finn Balor still has weight as well. That's another thing. Dominic Mysterio's over his shit. I don't think there's much wrong you can do with him. I do think he will still be the AAA Mega Champion at the time as well, so he'll be walking in as the super over heel that's got 2 titles on his shoulders. He's going to be there with Liv. Who knows where JD McDonough fits into the mix? Who knows where Raquel and Roxanne fit into the mix? Depending on where you put this on the card, Liv Morgan might be the world champion by then as well. They could be walking in with all the gold. And Finn Balor, even though he's the Demon, might be walking in as the underdog. And that's a really interesting dynamic as well. Really looking forward to that. Okay. Initially, when I was putting this together, I was gonna lean into the celebrity match that everybody's pulling for, that I'm actually really interested in because I want to see it at some point. WWE has done a really good job of booking like celebrity wrestlers that can actually wrestle, people that have actually put in the work, and are not pretending to be like full-time roster members or anything like that, but they've put in enough that them having a match isn't a joke. I'm talking about your Pat McAfee's, your Bad Bunnies, your Logan Pauls, Jelly Roll to a lesser extent, and some other people I'm probably not thinking of right now. A lot of people at the beginning of this year were speculating that they were going to finally do it. We've got such good celebrity wrestlers, we can finally have a celebrity wrestler match. Bad Bunny versus Logan Paul. That's not what I'm booking. I've got Logan Paul doing something else. So, Bad Bunny, this is going to be another one of those babyface. I just want to see it because I think it would be fucking awesome. They did something very similar in TNA when Leon Slater first was building himself up as not only the X Division champion, but like a champion of the X Division. And all of a sudden we found out of nowhere that his next crossover challenger was going to be Javon Evans. They're both baby faces. Neither one of them turned heel. It was a fantastic exhibition that everybody could look really forward to. To that end, I've got the Bad Bunny Invitational being answered by Javon Evans. Bad Bunny will come in there, be a lot of fun. He's got, no matter what you thought of the Super Bowl, and I'm not digging into that here, whether you like football, I don't like football, I didn't watch the Super Bowl. Whether you like Bad Bunny, whether you like the TP USA secondary halftime show, whatever, the conversation around the Super Bowl was around Bad Bunny, and WWE would definitely want to leech off of that conversation, off of that, that trending topic. Never mind the fact that the guy's one of the most streamed guys in the universe, and his reception the first couple of times he had, the first couple of matches, especially down in Puerto Rico when he had the match with Damian Priest, was insane. Bad Bunny versus Javon Evans would be a lot of fun. It would be a really cool thing to put some more hype and some more celebrity and some more shine on a guy like Javon Evans, who's also awesome. Lost my train of thought there. Yeah, just a fun match for the sake of having a fun match. And people get upset that there's celebrities at WrestleMania, but if you look through your history books, celebrities at WrestleMania has been a thing since WrestleMania 1, when there wasn't a 1 on it. Now, taking away from the celebrities and back to the deep-seated long-term NXT storytelling, even though I think both of them are above it at this point, we're going to get a United States Championship match between Trick Williams and Javon Evans and Carmelo Hayes, aren't we? These guys have history. Carmelo Hayes brought Trick Williams in as his boy in NXT. We told the gradual story of heel Carmelo Hayes and heel Trick Williams being just under him. We told the Shawn Michaels Diesel story of the big guy eventually breaking away. Trick Williams turning face when he turned on Carmelo Hayes. They had the big stand and deliver match, and Trick was over as shit, and Trick has maintained himself being over as shit ever since. When he became NXT champion, when he crossed over and became TNA champion, when he came to the main roster and got Lemon Pepper Steppers over in his first promo. Here's the thing that I find hilarious about this match. Back then, Mello was the heel. Trick broke out from underneath him as the super over babyface and won the belt off of him. In this case, you've got Carmelo Hayes, who, now that he's been removed from The Miz and he's doing the open challenges with the United States Championship, he's the babyface. And it's still going to be Trick Williams that's super, super fucking over, and he's probably going to have the conquering victory moment over the babyface as a heel that everybody's going to love. Very much like Dominic Mysterio winning the Intercontinental Championship last year, getting the response that he got and getting told to go back down to the ring and celebrate some more. The match is fantastic. Very, very recently, they reminded us of how good their chemistry is when they had the Elimination Chamber qualifier with the two of them and Damian Priest. And those of us that watched NXT the whole time were like, Damian Priest, no disrespect, I want to revisit this a little bit, get the fuck out of the ring. I think they're giving it to I can speak, I swear. I think they're giving that to us at WrestleMania in some way, shape, form, or fashion, and I think it's going to be fantastic. And I think... Do I think they put it on Trick? Because I get what people are saying as if you put a mid-card title on him, then you've labeled him as a mid-carder. I think you put that title on him, he holds it for like a month or two, and then very much gets out of it again and heads towards the main event scene. I think it's just a great match, and it is one of those, I go back to what I said before, not everybody watches NXT, but you need to have a match like this every now and then that kind of hinges on NXT to suggest to other people, hey, if you're not watching NXT, this is a hell of a thing that you're missing. That whole video package is going to be 99% NXT footage. It's very similar to the Origin videos that they're doing right now in NXT. They did one on Finn Balor. They recently did one on Damian Priest of like, here's these characters that you like on the main roster. Here's what they did in NXT. There's more people like this being developed in NXT right now. Maybe you should check out NXT. I think it's fucking brilliant. I really, really do. Let's get into the tag team titles, both of them now. Now, I said we're not doing Logan Paul versus Bad Bunny, which is what I was initially going to book. What we are doing is Another four-way. I know I'm doing a lot of multi-person matches. The Hardys have suggested that they want one more title match at WrestleMania. I think they can do it. I think what we do here is they say, or at least they've intimated, and other fans have sort of picked it up, that the new trio of tag teams, like the old trio being Edge, Christian, Hardys, Dudleys. I think you do Hardys, New Day, Usos, but you throw in one more team. And you guys will know where I'm going with this, because the vision has kind of fallen apart. Rollins is injured. Bronson Reed is injured. Braun Breaker is injured. Who does Paul Heyman have left? Who does he have? Who's he scraping the bottom of the barrel for? It's Logan, Paul, and Austin Theory. Now, I said it on the Elimination Chamber preview, and I'm going to say it again here. I'm not pushing for this necessarily because I want Logan Paul and Austin Theory to be tag team champions. I am pushing for this because somebody like Paul Heyman, who's good at what he does, whether you like it or not. Oh, he's associated with Brock, we can't like him. He's associated with Brock, so he's like 3 or 4 steps away from being associated with Vince. You know, this, that, the next thing, cancel culture, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Paul Heyman's one of the best guys you have on that roster, on the mic, whose name isn't CM Punk. Get Paul Heyman out there on a microphone hyping up your tag team division, especially heading into WrestleMania. Logan and Theory versus the Usos versus the New Day versus the Hardys, just because I want the Hardys. And there would be a hell of a match. Make it a TLC if you want. And if it's not Logan and Theory, you know, pull something out of left field. How about Logan and Jake? After Jake is done hosting Ronda Rousey versus Gina Carano, the comeback fight on Netflix in the Intuit Dome. It's fine. Don't fucking worry about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. What I know a lot of people will worry about over the other tag team titles is we're going to finally get the blow off between the Wyatts and the MFTs. Now, people, my own wonderful co-host included, don't quite buy the MFTs. I don't get it. I think they're entertaining as fuck. And I think after they slipped away from the main event scene and found their spot in the mid-card as sort of like the gatekeeper faction of the mid-card, they're better than the Vision. The MFTs are a better faction than the Vision. Fight me, I'm waiting. The Wyatts are just, they're creepy guys, they're right up my street. It's a living, breathing tribute to Bray Wyatt, which I'm always going to be a fan of. And I think both of these acts deserve to be at WrestleMania. And considering one of them holds tag gold, then you just make it about the tag gold, and it's fine. It's 2 versus 2, that's definitely going to turn into a 5-on-5 brawl. I don't know whether Shinsuke Nakamura gets involved because there's only 4 guys on the Wyatt side, and he's got this own little separate story going on with Tama Tonga. But essentially, you got Nikki Cross watching her guys and possibly Shinsuke Nakamura take on the MFTs while two of them fight over tag belts. It's fine. It'll be a mess. Wrestling is allowed to be a mess. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Coming out of this, I think the MFTs keep their belts, if that makes anybody feel any better, but I don't think it will, because, you know, what's his name? Solo Sikoa is still going to be walking around. Solo Sikoa is going to still be walking around with the lamp, and I wonder if by WrestleMania he's got himself an Uncle Solo mask, because that would be fucking hysterical. The WWE Women's Championship. I don't know why something's beeping. Don't bother. Don't even listen. The Women's Championship match, if WWE has a single brain cell in their skull, is Jade Cargill versus Rhea Ripley. Is it the best wrestling match you can get out of this entire women's division? No, but it is one of your biggest aspiring stars versus, I'm sorry, all due respect to all the other women in the WWE that I like. I love a Bayley. I love a Becky Lynch. I love an AJ Lee. I love a JC Jane. I love an Asuka. I love it. The biggest female star you have in your company, one of the biggest stars you have in your company, full stop, is Rhea Ripley. And I'll say what I said last night. I'll say it again. I've been saying it. I'm not just saying it now. I was saying it then. I've been saying it. Mae Young Classic. Mae Young Classic 2. NXT UK. NXT proper. Raw. SmackDown. Minor pay-per-views. Major pay-per-views. WrestleMania. Royal Rumble winner. Rhea Ripley, fucking star. And the more she proves she's a star, the more people get mad about it. I don't care. Oh, she's such a downgrade from Bianca Belair. No, she's fucking not, because she's actually there. Bianca Belair, it has to be Bianca. Why? Why? Give me your ultra problematic reasons why it has to be Bianca Belair. Because whatever Bianca Belair offers, I'm sorry, Rhea Ripley offers more of it. Whatever Bianca Belair offers, Jade Cargill offers more of it as well. So before you come at me with the accusations, it works on both sides of the coin. Don't worry about it. These two are going to go out there and be a walking, talking marquee for WrestleMania. This or the next match we're going to talk about has to main event night one. It just does, for reasons that I'm going to get into shortly. Liv Morgan taking on Stephanie Vacour. Two of the most over women and probably the better wrestling match of the two Women's World Championship matches. Liv Morgan coming back, making her comeback, doing the whole, the best Women's Royal Rumble winner of all time. Being obnoxious as hell. Doing the fake out, acting like she was gonna choose Jade instead, when, you know, she didn't. She was never gonna choose Jade, because as much as Stephanie Vacour's words might have hurt her feelings, she knows that Jade Cargill would have killed her. You know, the storm is indeed coming, and so are all of us. It's going to be a fantastic match. Stephanie Vacour is an amazing wrestler. Liv Morgan is a stupidly underrated wrestler. The match is going to be fine. Is there going to be some Dominic shenanigans? Yes. Should there be some Dominic shenanigans? Yes. They need to walk out of WrestleMania as the golden couple. It's fantastic. We all thought that China Eddie was going to be reincarnated as Dom and Rhea, when realistically the torch has kind of been passed respectfully from Rhea to Liv. Them as a partnership on screen is fantastic. The chemistry between them is amazing. As an act, they work better than most of the other acts in wrestling right now. And as far as a progression for Dominic Mysterio being like the, you know, the not quite confident like loser that Judgment Day had just recruited, and being under the thumb of Rhea Ripley was one dynamic. Now they've raised him up, and they're raising up Liv Morgan beside him. It's a different dynamic. It works. Rhea Dom worked for what it was back then. Liv and Dom works for what it is right now. They're a hell of an act. They're a hell of a unit. They bounce off each other incredibly, incredibly well. Pause. And between these two, Jade, Rhea, Liv, Steph, you've got two equally worthy potential night one main event matches, because the women's division in WWE is the best division going. Never mind the tag division. Never mind the two mid-card championship matches that I've put together. These four are above Becky Lynch and above AJ Lee and above Io Sky, because those ones, in my card anyway, are very believably fighting for mid-card titles. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, in my thing, Kabuki Warriors, in my card here, are all fighting for mid-card titles, and these four have risen above all of them, believably, legitimately, and it's fantastic. It's a credit. I will say it's a credit to WWE, because WWE has given them the platform. Other companies could learn from that, Tony, but giving them the platform isn't enough if they don't take the torch and run with it. Jade has, Rhea has, Liv has, Steph has. One of these matches needs to main event night one of WrestleMania. You know what's not main eventing? Fuck all. Is the WWE Championship, and the rumors that are swirling right now. I said in the Elimination Chamber preview, I would love to for them to throw us a curveball, have Trick win the Elimination Chamber, and have him be the one to face Drew at WrestleMania. I don't think they're doing that. That's why I've put Trick down in the US thing, because the story with Mello is there. They're doing a multi-person thing for WrestleMania, is the rumor that everybody's been saying. It's a little bit of a delusion and a little bit of a watering down of the title, only because you've got Elimination Chamber tomorrow night. You've got a multi-person that's ultimately going to fall apart and not have a true winner if we're getting another multi-person at WrestleMania anyways. But it's all the people that we've been seeing fight week after week after week with no real direction. It's Drew, it's Cody, it's Orton, it's Sammy, and it's Jacob Fatu. Now, those people are all people that I like. I think Drew, in the spot that he's in he deserves to be in the spot that he's in right now. They haven't given him much to do. Cody going and just winning it back after having a couple rounds with Drew already is fine. They want to tease that we're getting Cody and Orton as a feud, but that doesn't exist in a 5 or 6 person match. Sammy, once again, pulling the, you know, none of you believe me and everything's working against me, almost leaning back into his conspiracy theory days, is a little tired at this point. Fatu is your most interesting example, and I don't doubt that he could win it. I don't think Jacob Fatu's signing off one of your nights of WrestleMania, though. I said it yesterday, and I'm going to say it again here. Whatever this mess ends up being is going to be the opener of night one. Like, you can't, going back to my point that I just made a second ago, you can't put this over Liv Morgan versus Stephanie Vacour. You can't put any combination of this over Jade and Rhea Ripley. You can't do it. You just can't. I've said forever now, and they did it with Roman Reigns and Punk this year. Eventually, you have to have somebody that wins the Royal Rumble pick the World Heavyweight Championship to shake off it's the secondary title for the idiots out there that are like, oh, it's nothing, it's just the Seth title. It's like, okay, you don't like Seth Rollins because he said his company was good and you think your company's good. Whatever, but you needed to shake that off because it was kind of pulled out of nowhere and all that kind of thing. They've done that with Punk Roman now. You know Punk Roman's going to be the main event of night 2. In almost adverse fashion, in an almost opposite incident, goddamn, my caring of who is holding the WWE Championship has absolutely fallen into really, really has, and that's really unfortunate. Because, like I say, Drew, on his day, is fantastic. Drew presents himself as a monster. Drew goes, into that Brock Lesnar, Obafemi monster wrestler type realm when he's clicked in and whatever, and I don't think he is right now. He goes from that incredibly deranged, he could do anything, he's gonna rip your fucking head off mode, to that sarcastic Drew McIntyre that thinks everything's funny, which works if he's going up against a guy like CM Punk that makes me give a shit about the fact that he's laughing at him. But he's run it back with Cody. And I'm sorry, the Drew-Cody rivalry doesn't have the repeatability of a Drew Punk. It just doesn't. And it's not a dig on Cody. Not everybody can be CM Punk. It is what it is. Drew and Orton as a singles match doesn't really interest me. Orton's in that sort of twilight of his career. I just want to see him have interesting matches. I don't necessarily need him in the title picture. They shot the load on Drew and Sammy at the Rumble because it was in Saudi, which again makes sense. Like I've said, makes sense with a lot of the Chicago references on this card. But it means we've done it. It means it's Sammy coming back for one more try and one more try and one more try. And the fact that Drew McIntyre points it out that it's Sammy coming back for one more try, it just means that you think way back to Sammy being in the bloodline, leaving the bloodline, thinking he was going to beat Roman Reigns in Montreal, which we knew was never going to happen. And as I say, the interesting version of this is Jacob Fatu comes out on the winning end of the stick. But if that's what you're doing, then get rid of all the rest of the mess and just give us Drew versus Fatu. I think we're getting some 5-pack, 6-pack challenge. And if I say this is the match, and I know I've booked some comedy shit on here, but if I say this is the match that I'm the least interested in potentially at WrestleMania, do you really blame me? Do you? Because I don't blame myself. I like me. Do the whole John Candy, I like me thing. And most obvious thing on the page is the first match we heard about, coming right out of the Royal Rumble. CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. And I've got it on here because we already know that that's a thing that's happening. I'll go over what I've said before. Yes, I still want Punk versus Cody at some point. I do. I'll sit back and I will say that this match is absolutely gigantic. I will sit back and I will say that CM Punk is actually getting the main event this year because the night one main event isn't really the main event. Let's be honest with ourselves for a second. Last year was a compromise. It was a triple threat match. It was kind of hodgepodge. The story ended up being Paul Heyman instead. It was on night one. There was no title involved, etc., etc., etc. This is CM Punk earning a title, holding the title till Mania, defending that title at Mania against one of the biggest guys in the company in the proper main event. I think CM Punk should win because Roman Reigns is a part-timer. And I think he will win. And I'm looking forward to this match, even though, to my mind, it should be incredibly predictable. That's it. That's all. So to go back around, shit ton of women's tag teams going for the women's tag team titles. Lucha Brothers having an open challenge answered by Fraxium. El Grande Americano versus El Grande Americano. Becky Lynch versus AJ with a possible Tiffany Stratton somewhere in the mix. Jordan Grace versus Julia versus Io Sky versus potentially Kiana James. Lesnar versus Obafemi. Dominic versus the Demon Finn Balor. Trick versus Mello. Bad Bunny having his own open challenge that's answered by Javon. Logan Paul and Austin Theory taking on the Usos, New Day, and the Hardy Boys. The Wyatts and the MFTs one more time. Jade Cargill versus Rhea Ripley. Liv Morgan versus Stephanie Vacour. Drew McIntyre versus whoever the fuck he's facing at this point, and CM Punk versus Roman Reigns. I don't hate this card. I don't hate that most of this is relatively based in reality and based in what we've been presented with. Yes, I've tossed in a couple matches that I'm just looking at as a, hey, that would be a fun thing to see. But for the most part, this is what the story of WWE is telling us right now. And with the exception of whatever the fuck they're doing with the WWE title, I love most of it. What are you guys booking for WrestleMania? Get in the chat, get in the comment section down below. Tell me two things. Tell me what you think is going to happen, but more importantly, tell me what you'd love to see. Thanks for listening. This has been a little bit of an extra pod. Like I say, we're heading into Elimination Chamber tomorrow, and I had a day off today, so I thought I'd come back and talk to you guys some more. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation, keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Bye, guys.